Welcome, Director Sachs. We're going to start. We've got some colleagues trickling in. I think Councilman Ketch is joining us online, and Councilman Young is on his way. So he's in traffic on the Beltway. So if you wanted to kick off, we're happy to sit back and listen.
Second was really to help recover as much as possible from the tragedy of the Key Bridge collapse. And the third was to focus on driving investment into our county. And all of those things are well underway, and the work continues and is ongoing to really help us realize the state that we can be in to really attract businesses coming in and expanding in Baltimore County, which I know is critical to continuing our growth and growing the tax base. So I want to start with what we're going to cover today. I'll go over an overview of Department of Workforce Development, a little bit about the Baltimore County economy, although we heard a lot this morning. Roca, Chair Patel, this morning, about the work of the Economic Development Division, a little bit more in depth, the Workforce Development Division, more in depth, some additional highlights from our department, and then go to your questions. So I want to start first with just an overview of the department, its functions, the different divisions that are within the department. So the Department of Economic and Workforce Development has 6 divisions: Economic Development, Workforce Development, Agriculture, Tourism, Arts and Sciences, and Division of Data and Economic Analysis, which is our newest division. And, you know, sometimes I've worked on this before, really in other economic development organizations. And sometimes economic development ends up as a bit of a catch-all, a place where divisions go that are part of the county government but need a home. And the question that we had kind of as I was going around, and when I first started, I met with every single member of the department to understand what they're doing, is really, you know, how do we work together? How do these 6 divisions really work together? What is the thing that we all have in common to help make a difference for the people who live here in our county? And we really narrowed it down to 3 big buckets. We support employers, we support workers, and we help support placemaking in Baltimore County. And it was really interesting as I was going around and speaking to some of our major employers in the county. Placemaking actually came up a lot, about how do we create places where people want to visit in Baltimore County, places where people want to live, work, and play, right here in the region. And when we looked at our different divisions, we thought they kind of mapped out here, that each one either played a role in one primarily or in 2 of these areas, really, again, supporting the overall work of the department. Thank you. Sorry about that. Got it. How we really can help move each of these areas forward and support each of them. And the question that we asked ourselves really as a senior leadership team as we got together is what's in that middle? What's the area of overlap that all of these areas have in common, that each of these divisions have in common? And this would be a way for us to inform our mission. And what came out of that is our division's, our department's mission statement. The Baltimore County Department of Economic and Workforce Development advances and fosters economic activity in order to grow the tax base in Baltimore County. And that's what we're focused on. You know, really there's 3 ways in government to raise revenue. The first is to raise taxes, the second is to raise fees, and the third is to grow the economic pie and to grow the economy of the area that we're all working towards. And we felt like we have a major role in that third element of helping the county grow and support programs and initiatives on the revenue side of the county, and going out and marketing Baltimore County and all of the wonderful assets that we have here, which I'll talk about a little bit more in just a moment. In addition to that, we put together standards of behavior and our kind of core values as a department. And each of you in your packet, this is one of the elements that you have. This came out, this was a really cool activity. This came out of a little competition that we did, friendly competition within the Department of Economic and Workforce Development. We divided up and mixed up our departments. So folks in workforce development, we're working with folks in economic development and in agriculture, tourism, we're all working together. We divided them into teams, and after an exercise that we did to identify some key words around what we want to be known for and what our values are important to us, we came up with this. We call it our House of Teamwork. As you can see, it has a foundation in teamwork, pillars of respect, efficiency, and resources, with an overall goal of service, both to the county and the folks who we serve as part of the mission of our department. We also extend that to constituent services as we work together with you, the members of the council who are our key partners here. And I hope that you feel that as you field requests and questions from your constituents, that when they come to our department, we address those quickly, we take them seriously, and we try to be in depth with how we helped constituents who you've identified as needing additional help. So we're really proud of that. But I have to tell you, the thing I'm probably the most proud of anything that's kind of gone on the last 11 months is the team I have the privilege of working with. They're right here. Team, if you wouldn't mind standing up, our senior leadership team and our extended team. John, please. Who are here, and this is the work that we do. These folks are the leaders you see here that we work every day to drive at that mission of growing the economic base in Baltimore County. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Councilman Patoka.
Jonathan, could you ask everyone to, and there's some faces I recognize and some I don't. Would it be okay if they said who they were?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Tom, you want to get started?
Tom York, Chief of Destination Marketing.
Katie Tracky, Chief of Economic Development. Tracy Tyler, Chief of Workforce Development.
Can we start over? Sure. Tom York, Chief of Destination Marketing.
Katie Tracky, Chief of Economic Development.
Tracy Tyler, Chief of Workforce.
Jessica Armacost, Chief of Office of Agriculture.
Austin Wank, Manager of Data Analytics.
James Lanier, Chief of Operations.
Brittany Victorine, Executive Assistant and HR Liaison.
John Bontren, Liaison for the department.
Hi, Abby Vitaliano, Deputy Director.
One more. Jacob.
It's okay. I'm Jacob Knapp. I'm the Chief of Fiscal Administration.
And it's like I shared. Thank you. Oh yeah, Mr. Chairman. Sorry.
No, good.
Yeah. It's really my privilege to work with these folks. When we were first getting started, it was Abby, Jacob, and myself. So we've really built up a senior leadership team in the department, and it's been really a pleasure to work with these professionals who get up every day thinking about how to grow the tax base. In that spirit, I wanted to share kind of as an overall level setting a little bit about the department's funding. We are 83% funded from federal or state sources, with 16% coming from local sources. And I think that will help inform some of what we're able to do in the department and some of the restrictions that we have. When you take money from other sources, they come with strings. When we use our own, we have much more flexibility with that, and that's something you'll see throughout the course of the presentation. Some main strides, things that we're really proud of so far in the last year is, as you saw, we have a new mission statement and new standards of behavior. We've reduced the vacancy in our department from 35% to 3%. We've hired 6 new senior leaders, many of whom are here, which is wonderful. We have a new regular monthly staff meeting, regular bi-weekly senior leadership meetings. We added the Division of Data and Economic Analysis. This is critical because as we work to incentivize businesses to come to the county, as we work to understand large employers, We are reaching a state where we can actually score the deals that we're working on by their impact to the county's tax base, so we can stay in line with our mission. So that's been a critical function, and we're lucky to have Austin Wank leading that for us. Added to that, data-driven performance management. We've rolled out our dashboard for workforce development. We will soon be rolling one out for economic development. We have a robust dashboard for tourism, as well as the other divisions that we support. We've also had to do a lot of work around renegotiating memorandums of understanding, contracts, and other outstanding issues and agreements that we've been really cleaning up over the last 11 months. To get into economic development, being somebody who talks about Baltimore County is honestly an absolute pleasure. We have unprecedented assets as a community. When we've looked into this, I think that there are communities around the United States who would give a lot to have just a few of the assets that we have here. We have an incredible strategic location in the middle of all the major population centers on the East Coast. To get to them, you can go to the 4th busiest airport in the country in BWI, located right next door. We have the port, we have Trade Point Atlantic, we have rail that runs up and down the East Coast, as well as Interstate 95. Some jurisdictions would love to have one college or university, especially one state university, helping to feed their workforce pipeline. We have 4. We have the best community college in Maryland, a diversified economy that isn't overly reliant on one sector in particular, and we're affordable relative to similar jurisdictions in Maryland with a relatively low tax burden and a relatively high standard of living, and we remain AAA bond rated. To have these assets in one place is very unusual, and we're very fortunate to have them. And the key is, how do we amplify the things that we have going for us to help attract businesses? With that said, we have seen a period of slowed growth in the last 5 years, and I want to just share a little bit about that. Obviously, the briefing this morning was more in-depth, but I want to share a little bit about that. So one thing that you're going to see here is the county's growth just relative to Maryland, because there's a lot of other kind of complexities if you look at Baltimore County's growth compared to other counties across the United States. So what this basically shows is the state grew at about a rate of 5%, and we grew at a rate of about 4%. And the difference in that, again, quantifying it to the tax base here in the county, is about $44 million over that period. That's money for services, the things that all of you heard about at the town halls, as well as other government functions that are critical to operate and to serve the people of this county. So our goal is, again, to really support and grow that number. If you look at taxpayer and labor force, really labor force migration over the last 10 years plus or so, we've seen that decrease that I think all of you know about. And over the last 5 years, there's really been a downward trend in population across the region, but this is a trend that started before COVID and continues. So one of our goals as a department is to help reverse this trend of labor force migration. And this map is designed to show you where people are coming from and where they're going. So it's not that people are only leaving Baltimore County. There are people who are coming here as well. Most of them are coming from the city, Prince George's County, Anne Arundel County, and Montgomery County. And when they're leaving, they're not really leaving the region, which I think is pretty interesting. They're just going further out from the city. Some are leaving the state and going to York, but most of the migration has been to the counties that border Baltimore County. In terms of our initiatives to work to grow the economy, we've identified 6 target industries where we have a unique competitive advantage over jurisdictions across the United States to attract investment and business growth. I'll share those in just a moment. We're working on implementing a customer relationship management system now, which we haven't had historically in Dude. We have multiple programs in business loans and other incentives. We just rolled out a brand new incentive called Grow for office space vacancy, which I'll touch on in just a moment. And we're also reconstituting the Economic Development Advisory Board to really engage the private sector in our mission of growing the tax base. So the target industries that we're focused on are these 6. These are areas that, again, we've identified to have that unique competitive advantage: transportation, logistics, and wholesale trade, healthcare and life sciences, IT and cyber, aviation and defense, manufacturing, financial services, professional services, and real estate. Based on our assets, these are the industries that we believe that we need to focus on, and places that we need to talk about Baltimore County's story places where these employers get together and locate. In terms of our CRM system, this is something that's really table stakes for an economic development operation. We've operated with sort of a loose database that hasn't really served this function. And one of the reasons why CRMs are so important, and I know that you all know this quite well, having recently gotten a CRM at the council, is really as a way to have, number one, institutional memory, data tracking, as well as that analysis that I was talking about earlier, where we can actually assign a value to deals as they go through the pipeline. So we're excited about this. This should be coming in the next few months. We've identified Microsoft Dynamics as that CRM, which natively integrates with many other Microsoft products, which will make it easier to keep that memory, build up the Rolodex of the department so that we have access to business leaders. Part of that is we heard from business leaders that the office vacancy rate was high. We looked at our data. We saw that across the county it was about 20%, Class A and B office. And we looked at a program that actually is used in some other jurisdictions in Maryland to incentivize location into office space. And what we're offering is if you are in a Class A or B office space and are looking to either grow from an incubator or from your garage or from your home office in the county, we will give you a one-time incentive of $8 per square foot up to 10,000 square feet, and also for companies that come from outside of Baltimore County if they're relocating as an incentive. And when we were talking to brokers, property owners, this was a lot of the times the distance between having a deal and not having a deal was an amount like this. It generally subsidizes anywhere between 3 and 6 months of rent, depending on the space. So we're excited about this. We've had a lot of inquiries on it. So far, we've had 35. And we're right now receiving applications for these incentives, again, for companies coming in from outside or growing within. We also have a number of loan programs that our department administers, or we sort of serve as the front line to talking about this with businesses in the community. And you can see the list here. They range from boost loans, which go up to $250,000 per loan at about a 3% interest rate. And that's one of the key features I should say about all these loans is that on all of them, the interest rate is very low, especially compared to where interest rates are right now. So it's a way to give a cash infusion to businesses, make sure that we have applicants who are creditworthy so that we protect taxpayer dollars, but helping to pump investment into the economy. We have the advanced technology loan, the building improvement loan, loans for business growth, a specific waterfront business improvement loan, and then tax-exempt bonds in manufacturing and 501c3s as some of the incentives we're working on. But the GROW incentive for office vacancy is our newest one. We are able to track the data of how our economic development team is producing that growth in the tax base. In 2024, based on the interactions that our division had with employers, we can see directly that we've helped to add or retain over 3,000 jobs in that period. In addition, 68 employers were added or retained in that period. And the blue lines that you can see are in those targeted industries that we specified. So this is about to get much more robust with the implementation of the CRM, but we are tracking the details, the key performance indicators of how we are performing at growing the tax base. In terms of an impact, we measure about $2 million in tax revenue last year attributable to our staff, and it's netting about 1.23 after you account for the cost of our 4 team members who are doing this work full time. I also mentioned that we're currently revamping the Economic Development Advisory Board. The last time they met was in 2022. We're looking to get the largest employers in the county present so that we can engage them in this work of growing the tax base. We are very fortunate to have 2 wonderful leaders there, Mr. Neil Meltzer, who's the president and CEO of LifeBridge Health, and Mr. Paul Taberzi, who's a retired managing partner at DLA Piper, will be leading that group. We are currently recruiting that group, and we should have our first meeting. My goal is the end of May. I hope that's not too aggressive, but that's my goal, is to convene the group for the first time in about 3 years by then. On the workforce development side, we have a lot of work going on, as you could probably imagine currently, helping with our federal workers who are newly unemployed due to the changes there and the layoffs that are happening at the federal level. But we continue to support Baltimore County residents in a variety of different industries and for a variety of different needs. Now, I mentioned earlier that we have strings attached to the work that we do, and I want to get into the details on that a little bit. If you look, our workforce development efforts are funded 7% locally and 93% externally, federal or state, which means that there's some things that we can do specifically for the needs that our employers have in the county. These are needs really around soft skills, learning trades, other types of, upskilling. And then the rest of it, we're really trying to mold within the federal programs that exist that carry this funding. And I want to talk about that for just a second. With the federal money, there's a lot of hoops and qualifications. Most of the folks that come through on the federal side are also in unemployment at the state level as well. And they come in and they can get access to these federal services. But it is hard to get them into training. A lot of folks who are obviously jobless and who are job seeking, they are looking for something a little bit faster than a few-month process to get them upskilled and to get them into a better job. So the previous County Executive Olszewski, he put $1 million into the last budget to help us do strategic workforce development. And I want to talk about what that money has been able to do for us, how much easier it's been to spend it, and how we're investing that money in workers in Baltimore County. So rather than just kind of going through all the hoops, the paperwork, and the restrictions that we need to get people into training, we're able to bypass that and do a lot more nimble work using local dollars. The key thing that we're measuring around our success and how we're growing the tax base on the workforce side is if we're doing workforce training starts and enrollment in the WIOA program, which is the federal workforce program. Last year, and I'll get into more of the details on this in just a minute. Last year, we were able to get 86 people into training for about a $3 million investment. And part of the reason that that's the case is we have people at the American Job Centers right now, which are located across the county as well as in our mobile career center, who are doing wonderful work, helping people every day, thousands of people a year with basic services. How do you get help with your resume? How do you get help applying for jobs? How do you navigate LinkedIn? But we're unable to have them take that next step because they don't qualify for one reason or another. And a lot of times it's because they make too much money under the guidelines of the federal program, which is slated for more an economy like Alabama's than an economy like ours in terms of the wage needs in order to live in that local area. So we need to take that number of folks who actually got trained and upskilled from 86. And the goal this year is to double it at minimum. And then actually we are hoping to triple it, and we'll show you how that will look. But that's one of the problems with the WIOA law and the way the federal money is structured, is we can help anybody with basic services. But to get to that next level of education, to help them really transform their lives, it's a much, much harder process. So as you can see, I mentioned this in this slide, this 86 number here. These are the number of trainings that we did in 2024. So these are people who enrolled through the WIOA program and got training in some advanced certification, usually and largely through CCBC. And we have a wonderful partnership with the community college to get those folks educated. Now, in terms of additional money that we have that we're able to invest, we have money, I mentioned this, related to the Key Bridge recovery that the state has partnered with us to give us in order to help people get upskilled who are affected by the Key Bridge collapse. In addition, we have that $1 million that was in our last budget that we're investing as well. So last year, we had 86 Baltimore County residents get additional training through the entirety of the year, so January to December. We're in April, and we've already identified 58 people who are getting trained in the areas that you see here: welding, diesel mechanic, CDL, and certified nursing assistant, CNA, which are aligned with our target industries, where we're looking to help build a workforce for the future and help people get into those jobs that can help them transform their lives and have an easier time affording the region and the amenities of Baltimore County. So in my mind, that triple number comes from the 86 we did last year, the strategic workforce initiatives that we have, And then growth with partners who we're working with for the first time, helping get the Mobile Career Center, for example, out to hotspot areas where there's unemployment, out to organizations that work with people who are unemployed or people who are housing insecure, to help them realize that they have this free resource at their disposal that they can enroll into. So that's where that triple number comes from, and where we're hoping to get that 86 now multiplied additional 2 times. Yes, Mr. Chairman. Sure.
Director Sachs.
That's fine.
Those numbers, is that who we can get, or is that the spots we have? So do we have 6 spots for welding, or is that we can only find 6 people?
These are just the spots with the investment that we're making initially.
Okay, so we have, that's the number.
Correct.
Yeah, I was down at Trade Point the other day, and apparently the CDL, like there's a waiting list for CDL training.
It's very popular. Yes.
Good, okay.
Thank you, sir. Additional highlights in our department. I mentioned we have 4 other areas. Tourism is having a really wonderful year. We measure tourism success by the hotel motel occupancy tax and the growth there. It's already higher compared to fiscal year 24, so we're seeing really good results there. That's been wonderful work by Abby. That's gone on for a lot. Abby Vitaliano, our deputy director, and Tom York. Thank you guys for your work on that and rebranding tourism in Baltimore County as Discover Baltimore County. We're working hard on the 250th celebration that's coming up in 2026 for the United States. We're partnering with the Historical Society on planning that celebration, and we're really working to put together a lovely program in the county. We're really proud. We have a brand new chief of agriculture leading the ag division. That's Jess Armacost, who came on a little while ago. She's working on filling 2 additional FTEs that we have. But as you saw earlier, thanks to the work of our team, specifically Brittany Victorine, we've gotten pretty good at hiring folks, putting together a good process, identifying good candidates, and of hiring them. So we're optimistic that that department will be full for the first time. And then we continue to work hard on the Arts and Sciences grants. The Arts and Sciences Commission just met and put together their recommendations for fiscal year 25 operating grants. I'm sure I will be in front of you at some point in the near future discussing those. But we're very pleased with the organizations that have reported, as well as their compliance with the systems that we have in place to make sure that they're spending taxpayer dollars appropriately. As I shared at the beginning, I always like to end where we started, which is really about the mission of the department and what we've identified. We exist to help drive revenue and promote business growth in Baltimore County. That's our main charge, and that's what we've identified. We're here to grow the tax base. That's what we wake up and work to do every single day. We hope to figure out a way to bring more and more people in, to have funding for the types of services that all of your constituents care about, and to make sure that they're fully funded without having to raise taxes or pull those other levers that we spoke about. So it's really key to the future of the county and the county's economy. And that's our guiding star and our target. It's what all 6 of our divisions work towards and think about. If you come to one of our staff meetings, you'll see that each one of our divisions, when they report, they talk about how they're contributing to growing the tax base. So we're a relatively small but mighty team, and we're really proud to have the opportunity to do this work on behalf of the residents of Baltimore County. And again, I really appreciate the opportunity to brief you on the work that we do every day, and I'm happy to take any questions you might have, but really just thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Jonathan. I think you're doing a great job, and we had some eye-opening discussion this morning at their economic development meeting with some of the sector leaders. One of the things that is important in my district, and maybe you covered it, but maybe I missed it, was do you have someone specifically assigned, or what's your strategy for older commercial corridors? How does that all fit into the mix here?
So it's key. We're focused on helping to revitalize Liberty Road, for example, as well as Eastern Avenue on the east side of the county. Our team is divided up by councilmanic district. Currently, we have 4 folks on our economic development team, so we have 2 per district, but there is somebody assigned specifically to interacting with businesses in each councilmanic district. One thing I also forgot to mention that I want to highlight for you is we look very closely at the economic health of each of your districts on a regular basis. And I wanted to share with you some of the data that we look like. I put a packet on your seats before we started, and that has some economic data on commercial and retail occupancy and vacancy rates that are limited to the geographic boundaries of your districts. So we have that amount of manpower right now to really focus on that. Our goal in the future is we'd love to have one dedicated person per district, and we have to work towards that.
And I think right now, in many cases, if you look at let's say the Reisterstown Road corridor in Pikesville, I think the chamber takes the lead on that, but my gut tells me that the chamber is more of a networking, rallying, ribbon cutting type of entity, and less the ombudsman style of helping somebody who may not, some small business owner, let's say a clothing store, just for example, on an ombudsman, how to steer that person towards services, grants that may be available, facade improvements. I think it's, to me, and I don't know, my team is really engaged in this stuff too, it seems like it's a more ad hoc approach that comes from chambers. And I just feel like if there's an ombudsman out there that really focuses on, like Woodmore Shopping Center has been something really important to me. And the reason I call it Woodmore is because the communities are pretty strong behind it and they identify with Woodmore. But Woodmore doesn't look so great nowadays. And I know there's multiple property owners that cause some of the issues, but if we could do something that makes the Woodmore Shopping Center stronger, I think it creates more of an identity for that part of Inner Beltway of Liberty Road. Now, I know there's a brand new CDO, and I hope that they'll have some role in trying to be that ombudsman, that have the ombudsman function. But it's since I've been doing this job, to me, one of the best things like when we do these jobs, at the end of the day, you got to look back and say, did I make a difference or was I just there? And I think if we really strengthen these Inner Beltway commercial corridors, then we can look back and say, I really made a difference. I wasn't just there.
Thank you, and I completely agree. And thank you for the introduction to the Woodmore Community Association. I was really pleased to be out there and to engage with them. There's definitely work to be done there. We're with you, and we really do serve as that role. We complement the chambers. I work very closely with all of the chamber leaders. Our team does. And we serve in that role, helping businesses who are either starting out or struggling or growing, all of the above, get the resources they need to either help, really to help in all three instances, to help make sure that they're growing. That's what we're looking for. So we really work complementary with the chambers. And it's wonderful to have chambers in the community because they every day are helping keep businesses engaged. They're informing us, here's who's doing well, here's who needs help, and then we can intervene with the resources that we have. So it's a very nice partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You want to go, Councilman Young, or I can wait. It's fine.
Director Sachs, how you doing?
Hey, Councilman.
Good to see you again. Thanks so much for your willingness to come in the district and talk about issues that, one, you've brought up on a holistic level, but also just getting on the ground and talking to business owners and folks that are struggling and community folks that are seeing some of the challenges that they see, but also why you're here today, too, to kind of help us understand what resources you have, what role you do play versus the role people think you play, and how we can put that to work to try and, bridge that gap between information that people want you to do versus what you are capable of doing. I know we've had this conversation before, so it's not a surprise, but I'm going to bring about, we talked about tourism, and we were talking about, and you were breaking up the Arts and Sciences grant.
Yes.
I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'm not afraid to say it. The Arts and Sciences Commission is heavy on arts and light on sciences, and that's being generous. Really, science is non-existent in terms, and that's not their fault. It's just naturally they're geared towards providing grants related to some of these arts programs, but when it comes to sciences, we really don't have a lot of, one, bandwidth or exposure to that field. So is there any strategy, anything you guys are talking about expanding that? Maybe even talked with the administration about how that commission or how we can work with other experts in that field to try and add to that commission?
Yeah, so I know there's been a lot of interest and support from the county executive. She's a huge supporter of arts and sciences. And I know we're developing various strategies in order to kind of balance out what you're sharing. I'd love for there to be more resources there. The best way to do it is to grow the tax base and to continue to support those amenities that are helping us doing that and the organizations that are helping us do that.
What's the makeup of the tourism board?
In terms of like what organizations they represent, or Tom, do you want to share a little bit?
Our tourism board is.
Oh, thanks, Abby.
I didn't want to speak in that again. Hi, so our tourism board is made up of more industry-based folks. So we have a representative from the waterfront. We have 2 hotel representatives. We have commercial/real estate and retail representative. We have an arts representative. We have a representative from the chamber, which is actually represented via Towson. And then we also, I'm missing one, recreation and history, which we are about to fill. It's been vacant for a while, and we have recreation.
Great. Thanks. I do wonder if there's an opportunity there to, and as Councilman Patoka brought up, there's a number of chambers across the entire county. If, and I know even the Catonsville Chamber has a sort of tourism subcommittee. If there'd be an opportunity or a way for them to engage with the tourism board to also talk about from a micro level what they see as sort of things or even resources they can utilize from a local level, try and enhance what they're already doing.
Yeah.
We actually have a small shopping.
We actually worked really closely with the Catonsville Chamber for our small shopping guide. They also helped us set up a photo shoot in Catonsville last spring, where we went to like 7 different Catonsville locations, including women-owned businesses, a few ice cream places, as well as the Catonsville Farmers Market. So the Catonsville Chamber, while they're not represented on our actual board, we work with them all the time.
You jumped to exactly what I was asking. I think there's a great opportunity to try and make those same partnerships around other chambers that I know would be jumping at the chance to work with y'all.
We'd love to.
Certain types of things.
Yeah,
and to
we'd love
highlight
to.
their regions. Last thing, Mr. Chair, appreciate it. We were talking about target industries, and I'm just, which makes sense, right? I mean, we're talking about workforce development, bringing industries in, the economy for this county. In your interactions or with the interactions with folks that are looking for employment, I am wondering about when we find somebody that might be interested but also capable of doing a position in county government, for instance, EMS or fire or the police department, what the liaison or what the connection is to those positions, because we have been notoriously short and not filling positions in those fields. And how we are partnering and how we are connecting, and I say this because we've talked with the fire department too, they have been asking the county executive for more assistance when it comes to recruitment. Mm-hmm. And they have their own department for that. But when you all run into those folks that might qualify or might be able to or even interested in being potentially filling one of these firefighter positions, how does that liaison, how's that relationship, and how does your services help connect them to that open position in county government?
Yeah, when we find folks who are qualified, we make that connection very seamlessly. We work very closely with HR to help in those recruitment efforts. At this moment, we've had kind of an approach so far around waiting for people to kind of come to us, and we're shifting that to really go out into the community and go to people. And I'm hopeful that as we do more and more of that work and build up those partnerships, we'll have more and more people that are, in line for those jobs, qualified for those jobs, work with us here in the county government.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Marks.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sachs, you mentioned aviation as the number 4 focus for you. Can you talk a little bit about where you see the future of Lockheed Martin? And can you also, since you mentioned Eastern Avenue, touch on Aviation Station?
How exactly would you like me to talk about
just your thoughts
Station?
on it in general, the importance of both those areas.
Sure. So what I'll share is, being over and seeing the manufacturing that's going on in the Middle River area has been incredible. I mean, the businesses that are located there that are working specifically in composite materials is really an interesting niche for the county. And, those manufacturers bring a lot of skilled jobs with them as well. And I think one of the things that was really neat is looking at manufacturing specifically, because they kind of dovetail together, the aviation manufacturing side, at least in the county. Those businesses are wonderful. I mean, we just had, Rocket Lab come in around that area. And I'm forgetting the name of the other manufacturer I went to, but they're the ones who are manufacturing the outside of the jet turbines using composite materials. And they're located right next to each other in that area. I would love to have folks come in to do that work all day. They're high-paying jobs, they're skilled labor, they bring a lot of jobs, and frankly, it's cool work. I mean, Rocket Lab is sending components of rocket ships up to space, and there's wonderful synergies that I've really been trying to make with businesses on the east side with, for example, like the education at UMBC, because UMBC does a ton in aerospace, and those connections hadn't really been made before. So in terms of like what specifically should go in those areas, I'll leave that really to you. All I know is that we are here to support the businesses that are there, and we would, welcome manufacturers like that to be in the county because they come with high-paying jobs in a good industry that attracts investment here.
Yeah, I mean, that area is truly intermodal, right? We have the MARC train station, we have Martin State Airport, 43. It's just an amazing confluence of different transportation modes. Yeah. My other question, my last question, has to do with your general thoughts on agriculture, obviously. And want to thank you. Made a very wise choice with your promotion there. Thank you for all your help. Just talk generally about where you see agriculture going in Baltimore County.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of opportunity for agriculture in Baltimore County. We have a lot of agriculture producers, a lot of farmers, a lot of land reserve for agriculture. It's really about how do we unlock that from a tax-based growth and economic development side of things. I think it was strategic for the county executive to put agriculture in the Department of Economic and Workforce Development to really help to encourage programs that help those businesses. When I talk to farmers, and I'll admit, Jess has really been giving me a wonderful education on this, and Abby, before in this job, I probably stepped on a farm maybe 10 times in my life. So I've really been learning. And as I've been listening to farmers, they have real needs and real issues with managing their business for factors that, are part of the industry. And I think really unlocking that industry is really important to Baltimore County, considering how much that we invest in it from a land use perspective and the types of business owners who've been there at times for multiple generations, doing farming activity and helping to grow there. I would love to see what that division looks like when it's fully staffed. Jess has been doing the work of 3 people. And, to have a multiplier around that, to fill the liaison and the fellow, I would love to see what we're able to do for the ag community from a programmatic standpoint once we have those in place. Obviously, from a regulatory standpoint, that those activities take place in a different part of county government, but from a programmatic and support and economic development strategy type work, I think that we should demonstrate with those 3 positions what we're really capable of doing and supporting for those folks. So that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited to see what this function looks like once we're fully staffed.
Yeah, I met Jess at Albright Farms last summer, and she does a great job. And I think drilling down into the recommendations of the advisory committee that County Executive Olszewski created, that can give us some real guidance in the future. So thank you for all the work you're doing.
Thank you, Councilman.
Jones. Yes, Director Sachs, thank you so much for presenting today, and certainly thank you for bringing your entire team. I have a couple of questions. One, I was really concerned about the trend. I know you and your team are doing a great job, but when I hear that we are subpar to growth with the state, 4% versus 5%, and then when I hear that that's a loss of $44 million, that's some real concern to me. So I have a couple of questions, but the first one is, what are some impediments to growth that you see?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's really about investment generally, and making it really, really simple for businesses to come in and invest in our community. That's what we're talking about. When a business creates a job, it's about investment. And, we try to make it as easy as possible for businesses. I think about us like the ultimate service and red carpet team for the county. When you talk to us, we're going to tell you how wonderful it is to be here, and we're going to make it very, very easy and convenient for you to be here, for you to grow here. If you have an issue, we try to work it out. I do this literally every day. I had 3 calls on it this morning. How can we help you? What do you need? How do we keep you here? How do we keep you growing here? Most businesses want to be here and like doing business in Baltimore County and make money here in Baltimore County. I think any way that we as a team can help to minimize the expense and the time of anything that we have control over would really be beneficial to the overall economy in terms of the things that are in our control. There's, policy that's set in other places, the state level, federal level. We can't control that. What our department can really do is to be that warm hand, that friendly face, that, ombudsman like Councilman Patoka shared, to help people come in, get their businesses open, and help them start making money as quickly as possible.
Well, thank you. And then my second part is, as a council, what can we do or not do to assist you in growing our economy, trying to make up on that 44 million we lost and some?
It's a really good question. I think, again, the mentality that, and I'll let you translate this into public policy, that's your responsibility in law, but it's how can we create that red carpet for people who want to be here and who want to grow here? And what does that look like? Because, we're at this place where we have assets that people want to be here. You would have to be crazy in a lot of respects to not want to come. So how do we make that an easy sell? How do we make it easy for people to say, yeah, of course I'm going to Baltimore County? They've got all the stuff that we've talked about today. And it's policies that support that I think will be helpful to growing the economy. And I'll leave the details of that to you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Well, thank you, sir. I actually had one quick question. I don't know if you have an answer, but one of the things in our booklet is it says Baltimore County properties pay only half as much in real estate tax as our downtown neighbors in Baltimore City. We know that. How do we compare to, we say surrounding counties, but Howard, Hartford, Carroll, Anne Arundel, probably more Anne Arundel, Howard, and Hartford since they're right here.
I'll send you a full analysis on that. We have it. We've looked at it. And it's really mixed, but from a pure cost standpoint, we're right in the discussion. Like, we don't have a situation like other local jurisdictions have where the jurisdiction next door is significantly more inexpensive than they are. Right. We are well positioned from a tax standpoint, again, the aspects that we control locally compared to our neighbors. And that's one of the things that's led us over time. We're the third in population, but we're the second in GDP in terms of the size and strength of our economy. So I will send you all of the details because we've looked at that comparison with Howard and Anne Arundel, Montgomery, Prince George's. But in general, again, we're very well situated from a tax perspective.
Good. One other quick question. As far as workforce development, and I know we do some of this at CCBC, but one of the things that concerns me is that we're seeing a lot of our high schools at levels of academic performance that is not good. I have schools in my district that one of my schools is 8% of the juniors pass the math proficiency test. 22% can read at grade level. Another high school right around that same. I actually have 3 right in my general area that are in that. And it seems to me that we have a lot of kids that are graduating out into the world without direction. And what worries me about the county is I think we've always had to do it, but maybe we need to do it more than we've ever had to, is trying to take some of these students and direct them into pathways. And I feel like that we have a lot of silos in Baltimore County where we're doing that in certain areas, but we're not all talking to each other. And like I said, I feel like we have a big populace that's going out into the world and not really knowing what they're going to do for a career path. And so I know that's a big open, it's not a quick question, but you know, an open-ended question that we're going to have to solve for, I think, in the county.
Yeah, can I share some information on that? I appreciate what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. In terms of the silos, I want to share something that just make sure that you're aware of. So one of the partnerships that we have, and it's actually in state law as part of the blueprint for Maryland's future, is a workforce component. It's pillar 3 of the blueprint. And it's a partnership between the local workforce development board, the school system, and the community college. I'm really proud to say we have a wonderful partnership with the school system and with the community college. And we're working to address, Mr. Chairman, exactly what you just said, which starting where we're talking today actually about how do we start in middle school with students where they're helping them get career counseling, helping them understand what the working world is like, what the expectations are of employers when they graduate, and how do we get them ready for that. I remember from the first week that I was here listening to a manufacturers roundtable, and the feedback has been the same from employers, which is there is a real need to build up the soft skills of the emerging workforce in Baltimore County. And that's something that, you know, we are working really hard with the school system to address. The funding that came from the state as part of the blueprint in Pillar 3 is helping us do that. As of this moment, we have a career counselor in every single high school, and that's a partnership with BCPS. And like I said, we're working to expand that even into middle school to sort of get students thinking about, hey, here's the skills I need to develop to be employable after I graduate. You know, here's the way I need to be thinking about my career. And those resources are relatively new. This is the first year that we're really doing that. But to share to your point, we do hear from employers on the workforce side in the county that there is a big need to help with soft skills of folks who are coming into the workforce. These are, you know, really basic things that we need to make sure folks have. Showing up to work on time, showing up to work dressed appropriately, leaving on time, you know, and following directions. I mean, really basic. And I think with the work that we're doing, we should be able to address that collectively across those usual silos to help prepare the workforce in the future. So is it going to solve every problem? No. Is it a really good start? Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Councilman Young, did you?
It was a great question, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to ask, in relation to what you were asking, if you could elaborate on the relationship between the school system and how that was how the passage of the blueprint was impacting your relationship with them. So you already answered it.
Yeah.
But also just to reiterate too, that even talking with high school students that are juniors and seniors now to confirm why it was put into the blueprint and the work that you're working towards, they even said too that junior year was too late. And when we asked when they first engaged with about career planning, it was junior year. And they'd said that them and a lot of their friends, maybe it wouldn't have mattered. Maybe they wouldn't have made a mistake. But by that point, they already had made some mistakes in terms of focusing on schooling, where they realized that, whoa, what I want to do, that I thought I'd be able to do when I graduated, required me to get an advanced degree. But I slacked off in freshman and sophomore year, and now to catch up is almost impossible. And then they get this feeling of helplessness. So that starting in the middle school range, not about picking, not about choosing, but just exposure to what folks could do or what they might want to do is important. And I appreciate your answer and clarifying that in terms of your relationship to the school system.
And Councilman, I so appreciate you saying that. This is exactly what we were talking about at our last steering committee with the school system and with the community college, was literally this issue. It's in middle school, it's emphasizing 9th grade counts. That if you're interested in, you know, getting an advanced degree, you can't slack off in 9th and 10th grade because you're not going to get into good college to be able to move to that next step. And it's even level setting something like that. That has to happen in middle school or else it's too late. And we're working right now on putting together a plan and then implementing that plan next year to have that middle school coverage for the reason you just shared.
Love to partner with you and learn more about that and
sure.
how what role mine, I'm sure my colleague's office could play in either making connections there or, any students that are interested in government. So,
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Well, I think that is a wrap because we have a 6 o'clock meeting, and we appreciate all of you from Economic Development and Workforce being here today. And I think these meetings are helpful to all of us to, understand what's going on and not be in our silos. So thank you again for being here and taking the time to talk to us.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.